Not all fighting games are created equal. Alright, granted, they're all made to turn a profit, but the way they're made can differ from game to game. While most games in this genre are primarily concerned with the moves and mechanics that they offer, some are more concerned with creating a certain aesthetic, a tongue-in-cheek look at the exaggerated posturing and violence that tends to be taken seriously in this genre. In games like these, the gameplay takes a backseat, and unfortunately for some games, that seat ends up being the backbench on the short bus en route to the School of Hard Knocks. I've taken the liberty of labeling these games parody games. Games that are all about poking fun at lots of different media. I did this hoping that I could create a sense of lowered expectations in the future, similar to the ones that licensed games share. I mean, no one could seriously say that Dragon Ball Z Budokai is more sophisticated than Virtua Fighter 4, but some people would rather play the former than the latter because of the license. In the same way, I'd like to point out why people still play the games I'm about to cover, because they're fun. So without further ado, let's begin.
Up smash. Up smash. Happy feet. Happy feet. Wombo, wombo, wombo combo. Oh, 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 oh my God. Oh, oh. Where you at? Where you at? Get your ass whooped. Wombo combo. Oh, my dick hurts.
An example of a bad parody game would be the Eternal Champions series, which came out back in the 90s. The first game, simply titled Eternal Champions, was released back in 1993 for the Sega Genesis, and it had a heavy emphasis on storyline and character design. Unfortunately, it also had an awkward set of controls, doing no small part to the way that the special moves were implemented. There were almost no rolling motions in the game. They were mostly made up of button presses and charge motions, and the charge motions had a 2-second buffer time. However, all of the special moves were attached to an awkward special meter, which would recharge independently, so high-level play usually devolved into shoddy turtling until the meter recharged or constant berserker rushdowns. To put it simply, it was a mess. Its sequel, on the other hand, was actually pretty decent. It had more characters, tighter control, and a more balanced attack meter. It also happened to have the best secret character in any fighting game ever, the Senator. Unfortunately, the programmers never got around to fixing the highly abusable normal moves of the characters from the first games, so it's still broken. But it's the more competent of the two games. A good example would be the Clay Fighter series. The first game, Clay Fighter, came out in the same year as Eternal Champions, but it was a much simpler game in comparison. Most of the moves were rolling motions, there were no meters aside from the life bars, and the game focused on crude humor and gimmicky special moves, rather than the dark humor and combo-happy gameplay of Eternal Champions. As a result, anyone with a decent projectile could spam it all the way to the end boss, and everyone else had to depend on playing footsies with their opponents. However, as more revisions and sequels were churned out, the gameplay actually improved, and by the last game in the series, Clay Fighter 63 and the third, it was actually entertaining. The game system eventually incorporated 3-level super bars, a combo system, parries, and a dial-up combo system similar to the Killer Instinct games. It didn't hurt that the game got a fair amount of hype due to the addition of Earthworm Jim as a playable character back when he was still popular, and the fact that most of the voice actors in the game had worked on Animaniacs television series, which still draws in VA buffs from time to time. However, the blockbuster exclusive revision, Sculptor's Cut, removed most of the gameplay mechanics and special moves in order to add characters which couldn't make the cut from the earlier games. And since that version was a more popular version of the game, it's the one that most people remember, which was one of the factors for the game's negative reputation. Although parody games tend to be flawed, they can still be pretty entertaining, and some of them have featured gameplay mechanics that could be useful in serious games, such as the 2-second buffer time in Eternal Champions or the bearable voice work in Clay Fighters. I'm looking at you, Maximum Impact. I doubt that I'll ever do a proper review of games like this in the future, but if I ever do, take it with a grain of salt. Oh, but no matter how anyone spins it, Balls 3D sucks.
It doesn't make a bit of difference, guys.